quite international team. So Gary Howard here, Javier Peña Capabianco, Alexander Chekan. Somebody from BDOPS joining us? Matt.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking about participant from BDOPS, Edmund or somebody.
Yes, Edmund will be on shortly. He's
excellent. So we have a full panel. So excellent, yeah. Great international panel. So let's start, guys. So everybody is here. Alexander, could you please turn on your video? Excellent. Kerry, could you turn on?
Hello, Alexander. How are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm fine, thank you.
So where are you today?
I'm in Belarus.
You're in Belarus? Okay, I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Kerry, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Staying safe and just about staying sane, I think. So
absolutely, absolutely. I'm a COVID-19 recoverer, so I just recovered about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Seriously,
yeah.
How bad did you have it?
Matt,
it's not something that I recommend.
I'd like to say that we have today, June, 9th of June, is the first day without special kind of restrictions or passwords or other documents to go out, the first day. So,
well, congratulations.
In Moscow, starting from today.
That's great news. Great news.
Matt, I will start a little bit saying that thank you very much, all experts, again, for your participating, for sharing your ideas. Today we had 1 day long kind of first time the whole day online event. So, and not only online, but very specific Russia Belarus event, just establishing more close relationship, especially in the field of sourcing, outsourcing. And we issued a second edition of our book, Outsourcing in Strategy of Modern Business. And for us, Belarus is a great Russian-speaking territory to promote these ideas, to make education and certification, etc. And happily, this joined the interest from the Belarus side. They talked to us about interest from businesses, about building ecosystems, about building digital platforms, and happily, outsourcing is great instrument to build sustainable long-term ecosystems, to make relations between companies better. So all these bundles, so we are glad we are looking to Belarus, to cooperation just after this COVID-19, all the stuff go out. We should go to Minsk to eat draniki and to eat Belarusian sala as minimum. And finally, we plan in September or in October maybe, finally to come to Minsk in Lviv and to make the presentation of our book finally in Minsk. So Matt, I will give you, yeah, thank you. Matt?
Yes, yes, can you hear me?
Let's start maybe to exchange the views.
Sure. Well. Look. Let me first of all thank you for the invitation and everyone for your patience in this full day, I'm sure, of learning and insights. I want to congratulate our friends across the world here in bringing together such a important group on really an important time in the history of our world. There's never been a time in my career where I've seen such stress, distress, and frankly need for innovative thinking in not only how we take care of ourselves and our families and our countries, but how we groom our businesses and be as successful as we can be. It's a very difficult time, very challenging time. I think we all know that. I would just offer to you that if we need innovation, now is when we need it. The world is in a very challenging place. The world of sourcing and outsourcing is being challenged, both by the virus, by the world of business and economics, the world of politics. Really, we're being challenged from every direction. And I want to give a call out to Carrie, who I think will talk about hopefully a program that she and others are offering to the world to essentially help us all how to be smart, socially responsible, and effective as we work through this pandemic, which is both an attack on our health, our business, and our futures. So with that, I will have a colleague of mine, Edmund Zacharin, a little later in this session, talk about some innovative use of technology to help us drive greater business value during this time of need. One of the things that we see in the United States right now, frankly, if you're a business leader, if you're in the C-suite, you're the CFO, the CPO, the CIO, or the head of innovation, whatever your title might be, if you're in the C-suite, you are looking for bottom line results right now. Very few senior business leaders that I talk to are frankly talking about making large investments that might get a 2 to 3 year return. People are looking for immediate returns because of the need for cash, frankly. So this is a business challenge that I've not seen in quite a long time. You only normally see it in signs of real distress, recession, or depression. And globally right now, we are at least in a global recession. And so anything we can do in the sourcing and outsourcing world to think outside the box to help the organization save cash, bring savings to the bottom line, make it happen quicker, safer, in a more responsible way, you will get the attention, at least in North America right now, of the CFO, the CPO, and the CIO. So just a few thoughts from me as we get started.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Matt, I think we could go to our kind of session program. And so I would like to give the words to Carrie to share the views concerning the status of the industry and maybe concerning GSA new initiative, if it is possible now. So Carrie, please.
Ladies always come first. Absolutely, Carrie. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me here. Shame we're not there in person, because obviously last time I saw both of you, it was in person in Moscow, and it was an excellent conference. But that will come back, and I look forward to it. So I'm going to try and share screen because I have done a few basic GSA slides. This is where it all goes terribly wrong.
There you go. It's coming up.
Right, let's go on to widescreen.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, yeah, so very briefly to introduce myself, I'm the president of the Global Sourcing Association. And to introduce the Global Sourcing Association, we're the industry and professional body for strategic sourcing. So we look after technology and business services, the companies that buy those services, as well as the companies that provide those services. And we're really focused on bringing what we call the strategic sourcing ecosystem together to promote best practice and do strategic sourcing business better. So with the guardians of best practice, we have, I believe, the only global strategic sourcing standard available in the world that both buyers and service providers of sourcing can accredit themselves to. So we're all about best practice, community, and sharing, and ethics as well. So very important piece to play in sustainability. So brief intro to us. What I wanted to talk about really was the global response, but more so the UK response for now to COVID-19. Now, it's a strange picture to be sharing, some lady looking absolutely ecstatic at this time of what has been the biggest stress test for the world, let alone our industry. But the reason why I'm keeping a very positive picture there is because I believe our industry has responded incredibly well to this huge stress test that has been put upon it. So I keep saying it, but I cannot believe how proud I am of the industry on both the buy and the service provider side as to how well they have come together, partnered and collaborated to keep the wheels of industry turning and to keep the lights on. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And the way that they've partnered, not just nationally, but around the world. So we have been looking at how our buy-side members in the UK have partnered with their suppliers around the world, and whether it was South Africa, whether it's India, whether it's Poland, whether it's Russia, you know, these companies have put out all the stops to ensure that service is remained delivered to the best way possible. So we've done some, I'll go through it in a second, but we've done some research, and our research shows that during the course of this pandemic, trust in partnerships has actually increased. So I've got a stat on it in here, but people feel that there is stronger trust in their relationships today than there was pre-COVID-19. So that is a massive testament to partnering and collaboration in the industry. So I believe we've responded incredibly well, but I think the future is now even more exciting, because I believe that the global sourcing industry, both technology and business services, is going to be front and center in helping organizations globally and global economies with their entire restart strategies. So I think will be key in helping economies and businesses get back on their feet. So there are stats out there that show, I think the most recent one is from HFS Research, that predicts that the industry is going to be in decline by 10.2% over the second half of this year. There will be some winners, there will be some losers, there will be some winners, but I do believe coming through this that our industry has got an opportunity to grow, to be honest. So, so the way that the GSA is approaching this is we see this as being a really important time for us to promote how well the industry has indeed responded to COVID-19. And to look at this as being an opportunity for us to not just safeguard the jobs in our industry today, but look at how we can actually reposition the industry for growth in the future. Now, I don't know if it's true for Russia. I think it's pretty true for the United States. I don't know about LATAM or Belarus, but the word outsourcing has been a fairly negative word in our media and by use of our politicians for a long time now, largely because our government hasn't actually been a very intelligent user of outsourcing. But I see this opportunity of change being a platform for us to actually be able to reposition and rebrand the industry in the way that we've been painting it for some time now, and that is that our industry is all about partnering, it's all about collaboration, it's all about agility, it's about transparency, it's about mutually aligned objectives, it's about adding value and creating value. It's not about just cutting costs. And I think at this time when organizations are needing to be super agile to create value within their businesses overnight, this is time for us to actually reposition our industry as well. So that's some of the work that we have been embarking on in the UK, and the way that we've been doing this and the way that we will continue to do this is through research and through case studies, and by publishing a response document that demonstrates just how well we have mobilized. So we've pulled together a whole host of different case studies that show how well companies have responded all around the world. So whether it's an Indian service provider helping an American healthcare company, whether it's a Sri Lankan company that has helped the NHS, you know, there have been so many examples that we've pulled together into a repository which we will be publishing as a book that shows the global industry response to COVID-19. And that's the stat I talked about a little bit earlier, is trust has actually increased from 6.4 out of 10 to 7.3 out of 10 at the moment. So a huge increase in trust. So we at the GSA are embarking upon the most comprehensive programme of work that we've ever undertaken to date. We have rewritten our manifesto and we have redesigned our programme of work, or re-engineered it, not a complete whole-scale change. And we are really pushing this importance of everybody being in it together and coming together. So as a result of us believing it's incredibly important for everybody to have access to the best practice, you might not like me saying this, Sergey, because it might undermine your model, but we are making all of our best practice freely available to the world in a way to best share best practice, rather than actually only making it available during this period of time to our paid for membership community. So our members are steering our agenda, but everybody's having access to all the best practice we produce, which we think is incredibly important. So if we look at how everything's changing, you know, these are just the tag words that we're now building into our programme. We've got an event coming up which is really focused on how to take costs out. Our research has shown that is absolutely imperative for our members right now, is to take costs out, but equally imperative is how to bring innovation in. So we've got this the seesaw of, yes, there is a focus to reduce costs, but at the same time a huge move to innovate and bring technology in. So automation has started happening at speed. That is going to continue to escalate. We want to, and are supporting our members, to understand how to adopt automation at a strategic play level and an enterprise-wide level, rather than at the category level that obviously they moved to very quickly in response to COVID-19. Gig is going to be massive. We're doing a whole host of work on gig and service provider 2.0, as we realise that the traditional service provider is gone now. They really have to be a service provider that focuses on automating first, bringing technology in, sharing risk, being agile, being transparent, and that will involve, I'm sure, employing the gig economy. So I'm just not going to go into too much detail, but the programme of work that we're doing at this GSA can fall into these buckets of upskilling the strategic sourcing function and recognising that the best performing companies have a strategic sourcing function. So by strategic sourcing, we refer to a team that transcends the business, transcends technology, transcends operations, finance, and procurement. And they are really skilled at putting together partnerships and alliances that drive value into the business. And our research has shown that those companies that survive COVID-19 the best actually have a strategic sourcing function at their centre to help do that. The contract's changing, and contracting models are changing, and we are going to be guiding our members through new operating models, new contracting models, how to take costs out, and much more sort of like blue sky thinking about contracting. The 100-page contract is definitely now being put to bed at last. So we're doing lots of work on the sourcing ecosystem, different alliance models, and how to bring a complex myriad of partners together, sharing risk across their myriad of partners. And of course, I've already mentioned this focus on automation, but the focus on new technologies is really paramount. So I don't really need to go through all of these, but we're looking at the future of customer experience under a whole new lens. The future of service provision has probably seen the most dramatic change during COVID-19 with the demise of the call centre and everybody moving towards a working from home environment. So some very dramatic changes there. And of course, people, wellness, inclusion and diversity remain paramount. So we are really urging our members that now is not the time to look at cutting people, cutting costs of salaries, and putting people to the wayside. Now is the time to look after their wellness and well-being and sustainability moving forward. So we're calling upon the industry in the UK to come together and to give back. We believe our best way of getting out of this is through a community adhesion campaign. But we're also looking to do that on a global basis. So we hope to have some very exciting news to present next week, where we have been talking to industry associations around the world about how we respond to this, not just on a national level, but how we actually respond to this on a global level. And by doing that, I think together we will make the UK and the rest of the world more resilient, more innovative, and more economically dynamic. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a permanent change in the mentality of the people that work in our industry. And that is that they're going to be more generous and more sharing as a result. So we are ready for the new normal at GSA UK. And I believe we are going to be ready for the new normal in the strategic sourcing and the technology and business services industry around the world. So yeah, I'm positive about the future. That was just a run through as to where we are at. I hope that's okay.
Thank you, Kerry.
Kerry, I have a couple questions for you, and I'd love to help the team here. Maybe pose a question or two to you, because I know that you've done as much research as anybody on the planet, given your global breadth and your membership base. One of the things that that we've seen, at least in the U.S., is a much stronger focus on participation and collaboration between our federal government and the commercial sector to develop very quickly, products and services that we've needed here in the U.S. to respond to the COVID-19 challenge. Do you see that happening around the world, or do you see it more as a maybe something that might apply to somebody just the US only?
No, I mean, we've seen all sorts of change. So if you look at what actually happened in India and what also happened in the Philippines, they very quickly managed to work with their governments to position this industry as essential or key workers. So it was thanks to the work of NASCOM, for example, that they managed to keep the lights of British businesses on, because their key workers were the ones that were allowed to still go out and work and weren't forced into a captive lockdown. So that was a massive coup for NASCOM and the Indian industry working with their government. We've seen excellent examples in the UK in terms of getting PPE slowly but surely, eventually in. But a great example is the way that DXC partnered with a myriad of different partners to build what we call the Nightingale hospitals. So this is where we took the biggest exhibition centres in the UK, both up north and the Excel Centre in London. And within the space of about 3 weeks, we converted that into a 4,000 bed hospital. So it was there to be an overflow to support the NHS, and all the tech and infrastructure that needed to go into that is obviously mind-blowing. But yeah, everybody rallied together to do what they could to get everybody else through. So that's why I sort of say I think we're all as nations and as individuals going to be so much more generous and sharing in our mindsets moving forward. I think there's been a whole scale reinvention of absolutely everything as a result of COVID-19. And there are so many behavioral traits that I really hope we don't go back to. So that there has to be some real positives that come out of this, you know, terrible situation.
Yeah, the more positives, the better. Great.
For sure.
You know, one other topic I think that, and I'd like to maybe get some sense from the others on the panel is how we work. I mean, this has changed how we work, right? I mean, I haven't been to a conference yet this year. And that's the first year in my career, and it's been a long one, so it's been a long time. So we're being forced into this new mode of working together remotely. And Sergey, I lost your oh, there you go. So you know, one of the things that I know I need to learn how to do this better, how to communicate effectively. In a forceful, effective, sensitive, responsible way across this medium. I'm used to shaking hands. I'm used to staring Carrie in the eye and patting my buddy Sergey on the back. But this is a new way of working. And Carrie, I would suggest, if you haven't thought of it, and you're a very bright lady, you probably already have, but you know, wow, what if we had best practices on just how to be good at working like this through this medium, right? You know, I know companies are going to be learning a lot on how to do it, but I haven't seen any kind of, really comprehensive best practices or even just a tutorial, right, on the do's and the don'ts and because it is the new normal.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is from what I've learned from our membership community, the hardest thing to be able to still achieve from this working from home environment is sales. So that where you don't have an already warm lead in your pipeline, actually creating a warm lead from nothing without any opportunity to meet people and build the trust of seeing each other in the eye is incredibly difficult. So I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, and we are putting together a sourcing series on how it's important to keep selling at this time. People are shying away, like, oh no, don't sell now. Yep. That seems a bit rude or obtuse. So important to keep selling, to keep business going, but also how you actually can do that. So there is a series of webinars coming out from the GSA next month on exactly how to do that. And we've also launched a wellness study which really looks at what is going to be the permanent effect of this working from home environment. The GSA, I was very, very sad to do it. We had the most fantastic offices in central Soho in the West End, right in the theatre land of London. We've let them go. So after 20 years of being in the same offices, we've given the key back to the landlord, and we have moved into a permanent work from home environment because it's so easy and it's saving us a fortune.
Yeah, and that's going to have a impact on the real estate market and how that trickles down and affects. I mean, because it's going to affect all of us. I mean, even though you may be saving a lot of money with your realtor, it's going to come back in other ways, right?
Yeah. So I haven't spoken to anybody that believes they will go back into an office-based job on a full-time basis. Yeah. You know, people are willing to go back in, but I won't be going back in every day of the week. You know, so there's going to be a downscaling because they won't need the same number of permanent desks if they need any real estate at all. So massive changes there too.
Well, look, it's a very important topic. I can't tell you, my inbox is doubled in the last month, right? I just don't, we've got to figure out a better way of the new normal. I'd like to get a little bit of a perspective, and I know we may be moving. Yeah, you go ahead.
I think that we should ask Javier to share his views, to give his comments on this changing world, on the new normality from the Latin American continent. Javier.
Absolutely.
Спасибо, Sergey. Спасибо.
Oh, fantastic.
This is the only word that I know in Russia. But,
Excellent Russian language.
thank you for all the speakers, and thank you also to Yolanda Toriani that is here. She is the president of ALES, and she is the president also from the Chamber of Commerce of Peru, and from Guillermo from the Argentinian Travel Investment Agency that is also here. Well, I am from the Latin American Association of Latin America from exporters, service exporters, and nowadays we have 19 countries as a member. And in the last weeks, we have been making a research about the future of services. And I have to confess that we start to think about this study previously to the COVID, but we are now dealing with this study. And we have identified different trends. For example, some of them have been mentioned by Kerry, for example, automatization and digitalization. But I would like to focus just in one of these because for me is one of the most interesting, not only because it's something important right now, because I think it will be very important in the next years because of different reasons that I will mention. This trend is what we call microsourcing. Microsourcing is the remote and distributed work. I know that microsourcing, as we know, it is not new, because in particular in professional services, many professionals in the last year have been working from home, and this is quite normal. And also in the IT sector, some senior staff have been working also from home. In particular, some senior position 1 or 2 days a week. What is more, 2 months ago, previously to the pandemic, we used to mention an American company that the name is Envision, that has 700 people that are working worldwide without any office. So it was something very interesting to see. And neither the CEO has an office. So it is very interesting to see that nowadays most of the world is doing this, but without knowing that it was a trend just a couple of months ago. So this is something very interesting because what is happening right now, what is new, is that the acceleration and the overcrowding of these trends. Why? Because nowadays most of the digital, the IT companies or the business process company have all the employees working from home. Perhaps this is something easy if we consider a company in the IT sector with 100 people. But in the business process company, companies with 5,000 people in Latin America are working with people from home. And this is really amazing. And the most amazing thing is that companies have realized that this model is possible. Because in some culture, it's very common to see that some entrepreneurs think that in order to have productive human resources, they need to have these people in the office and they need to see them working. But now they have to realize that it is possible to have all these people working from home and they are still productive. And this is one of the most interesting things. And thanks to this reality, thanks to this possibility, as Kerry has mentioned, companies in the IT sector, in the professional sector, and in the business process sector have managed to continue to work. And what is more, most companies that we have been interviewed in the last week, they mentioned that they have maintained the employment. And this is great. This is a very important information just right now. And obviously this model, this what we call microsourcing, has some pros and cons. For example, one of the positive things is that, as Carrie mentioned, companies have the possibility to save some money from location, for example, with the rent. But there are some challenges too. One of the most interesting challenges, for example, is that the companies have to assume the cost to hire or to buy computers for this person to go to the house and to pay also for the internet. Another challenge is related to how to deal with these people, for example, 100 or 5,000 people, how to deal with them, how to control them, how to see if they are really working at home. This is a key issue. Another challenge is about the possibility of information leaks, because in particular, perhaps this could be something interesting in traditional sector, for example, in banks. But the interesting thing is that some companies have told to me that the issue of the possibility of information leaks is something that it's happening also in the gaming sector. Gaming companies are worried about this possibility too. So it is not something related only with banks or with traditional firms. Other challenges are related with the extension of hours that human resources are working at home. So this is a possibility to have burnout, and obviously in particular for those companies that take care of human resources, this is not good, in particular for the future. And other thing is that our houses obviously are not prepared to work, and the table, the chair are concerned from the employees. So right. Some companies gave the possibility to take the chair from the office to the house, or even they have given money to buy these things. Other important things, in particular in some countries, developing countries, is the infrastructure, about the internet connections, about the electricity. In most of countries in Latin America, internet is quite good. They don't have any problem. But for example, in Central America, where business process or contact centers are very important, electricity is an issue. So they have some cuts there. So they have to consider this situation. And finally, and I think one of the most important things is what Matthew mentioned, is how the companies mentioned that it's very, very difficult to replicate the model to put in practice brainstorm tools, how to innovate, how to create value-added activities in this medium, in digital medium. So these challenges are also different opportunities, because I have interviewed different companies that right now they are developing methodologies, they are developing system, and they are developing software in order to manage people that are distributed all around the country, or even in different countries. And also they are creating different software to follow up and to check if the human resources are working at home. And companies are in particular doing or putting in practice, for example, what they call virtual private networking, in order to encrypt the information, to access the information from the client. And this is a big opportunity also there for cybersecurity. And obviously one of the interesting thing is, and the most challenging thing is, how to create a methodology, like Matthew said, to generate the possibility to make innovation in this methodology of internet. So this is not simple, because in general terms, innovation, in order to innovate, you need people just in front of you to see the eyes, to see your expression and everything of that. But as a result, I think this microsourcing have an important opportunity, in particular for professional services, because companies nowadays have realized that it's possible to identify human resources despite of the fact that they are in Russia or they are in Belarus or they are in Uruguay. So this is a huge opportunity for professional services. And I think if it's true that some companies have mentioned that, as Gary said, that they are not going to return to the office, in general terms, companies have mentioned that they will have an hybrid system. I mean that some employees will stay at home, some employees will go back to the office, or in general terms, they will have a mix of they have some days for the office and some days for the home, because also employees have to balance the situation with, for example, in some countries of Latin America, in particular in Central America, the traffic is something very chaotic. So human resources have to spend 2 hours to go to work and 2 hours to go to home. So this is something positive to stay at home, but at home they don't have air conditioning, for example, or they have a very good chair, or they have to share the space with the children, with the dogs, and so on. So finally, I would say that this is a huge opportunity for professional services. It doesn't matter where you are, but also government will have a big challenges with infrastructure, telecommunication, and electricity, challenges with norms, because in most countries there's no norm about this situation that people are working at home. So what happens if someone have an accident at home during the period that he is working? And most important, some companies in Costa Rica, in Uruguay, I am in Uruguay now, that this kind of service provider are under the umbrella of free trade zone. So if 90% of these people are working outside the free trade zone, this is an illegal situation, but this is supposed that you have this specific condition to work in the free trade zone, not outside the free trade zone. So this is a huge issue that government will have to face in the future. And just right now is just the final. Why I'm thinking that this model of microsourcing will stay and will intensify in the future? Because if we see the characteristic of the new generation, millennials, centennials, and what the specialists call born digital, millennials are right now working are in the market, but centennials and born digital will be in the market in the 10 or 20 years. And one of the main characteristics of these people that is that they are used to work in the digital framework. They prefer to work in this world. They prefer to be entrepreneurs. They prefer to e-learning, and they like to collaborate in this platform. So if we consider the current situation, and if we consider that in the next years we will have a lot of people that prefer to deal with these technologies, I believe that this microsourcing or this remote and distributed work will continue and intensify. What is more, I believe that we will have a big opportunity for our professionals. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier.
That was awesome. I would tell you, and let me just a personal note. With what I do, I can do what I do with my firm anywhere in the world. I could be on the top of a mountain. It just so happens that my two sons live on a private island in Belize, so I'm literally looking at moving to Belize in the summer and permanently being an expat working from there in a remote fashion, right? And I'm sure that I can do what I do now from Dallas, from Belize, from just about any country. So Sergey, you may see me in Moscow soon. But my concern, and I have a friend in the health and wellness business, and his point to me was that he remembered the days when he wanted to leave the office and go home, right? We're going to have millions and millions of people that are going to want to leave home and go somewhere else, right? So where are they going to go? He's in the massage parlor business. So he is planning for explosive growth, right? In health and wellness spas where people will be taking an hour or two off, right? To just go get relaxed, right? Go get a massage, right? Maybe go talk to somebody, right? That can help you vent, right? For an hour. Because as you said, you've had the dog, the cats, the kids, and dad, right? On your back. So there's going to be a whole bunch of new business opportunities for people and for companies to just think through what this new set of work processes is going to require to be successful and for all of us to be healthy, right? And sane. Also from a legal perspective. I mean, I'm typically not a big fan of lawyers, but I think, hopefully the lawyers are beginning to think about, how to protect us, right? How to protect our IP rights and all the things that we need to do there, right? Without it being too monstrous. So, and I'm also delighted to hear that Latin America is being very, very aggressive with this, because I think you're right. I think it is inevitable.
Javier, you mentioned you made research. Am I right to understand that you covered Latin America or just Uruguay or what, or global research?
Well, now I am doing this research in Latin America.
Latin America. Okay.
Yes, but we will also contact or interview stakeholders in different countries. For example, the idea with the question that I sent the other day to you was to identify this idea. So perhaps in the next future, in the next week, we will contact Kerry and Matthew too.
Thank you. Just moving forward, I would like to pass the word to Alexander Chekan. We evidently know kind of old-fashioned IT guys like EPAM, for example, IBA, IT transition. We helped these companies in the beginning of 2000 to promote the services to US, to Europe, outside. And not so much information today about Belarus. In fact, just 2 weeks or maybe months ago approximately, we had a kind of famous TV video on YouTube. Our blogger Yuri Dudz, and he made a film about IT Belarusians sitting in Silicon Valley, making a great business, etc., promoting the Belarus as a country greatly. So I'd like to ask Alexander just to say a little bit more about the Belarusian business economy, what is happening, what's new names you have now in Belarus. You are working with investments, with digital innovations. So could you share a little bit, and maybe you see something in, you see all the panel practically here is sourcing professionals, Kerry, Global Sourcing Association, Matt is Global Sourcing Optimization Services, Alice is Expert of Services. So do you see this industry in Belarus? So this kind of, could you comment?
Yeah, sure. The historically outsourcing industry is the cradle for all our startups, for all like young professionals, and the EPAM was founded like more than 25 years ago, and it's still around. I believe now it's almost all times high on the New York Stock Exchange, so it's as high as it was like a few months ago.
Just if I remember right, Arkady Dobkin took part in our first conference in 19th of December, year 2000. He sponsored section of offshore programming and IT outsourcing. So yeah, really.
So that worked. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, EPAM now is obviously the biggest company with like Belarusian roots. It has now more than 40,000 professionals all over the world, including Argentina and China and India, and 10,000 of them are still in Belarus. So it has a massive local presence as well. And it's interestingly enough, I was in a different panel and listened to Arkady a few days ago, and they switched to remote in a matter of days. Like 40,000 people switched to remote, and the stock market, the stock price is like almost all times high. So it should work. I believe if the market says it works. So so the outsourcing business is still doing great, although of course some more niche providers that have been focused on let's say travel industry, they of course they had a big hit, but like in general, industry is doing well. By the way, it's kind of interesting about the travel industry, not related to outsourcing, but still about the related to remote work. Airbnb just today reported the record numbers of house bookings because of remote work. So people are booking houses to work from, not from home, but from anywhere in the country. So it's an interesting trend on the real estate market. Regarding the so I represent more like a product companies and the startup industry in a way. And what we've experienced these days, the last few months, the companies are more like more ready and more like willing to accept, to absorb all kind of innovations from the market. So because the situation has changed dramatically, and they started, the corporation, they started to look for any sort of digital transformation, any sort of new ways like to engage with customers, the customer experience, etc. So, and we see we have a few companies in like digital beauty and like digital fashion, the digital agriculture, and in all of them we see this how hungry the corporations are for something new, and they're ready to talk with smaller startups, although the startups themselves, they often they're not ready because they have the core technology, let's say SDK or API tech, and but the corporation needs all sorts of solutions like integration with Salesforce or whatever. Like they need like 80% work to be done, and here I see the great opportunity for cooperation between these service companies and startups, because the market requires like more. Everyone wants to do things faster, and startups cannot deliver the holistic experience, let's say, but they can deliver some kind of tech, and that's where we try to cooperate with like service providers like EPAM, for example, or like smaller, more niche companies. And this is like the second trend, and the obvious stuff about the remote work. The good news is it worked. So we we had it like for more than 3 months for now in our companies and our portfolio companies. And the largest company we have is Flow Health. It employs more than 200 people, and they're doing great remotely. And we've decided that probably office is optional now. So if someone needs to go to the office just to go somewhere and to have better whatever AC or internet connection or whatever, so they're like very welcome. But it also means if it works, so it also means that we can hire the global professionals from all over the world. So there is no more like hassle with relocation from elsewhere to our place, and yeah, that opens more and more opportunities. And when we discussed this with our HRs and decided, okay, let's hire from like anywhere. We immediately got the very strong pipeline of candidates from London, from Berlin, from Novosibirsk, from anywhere, and they're already starting to work with us, no matter what they are. And I think this is long term. If the company won't be able to adjust to this environment, it won't be able to compete on the market, because if you can like maintain the hiring, onboarding, and general like business processes with global professionals, it means you have a chance to build the strongest team on the market. And if you are not, so you're basically losing the competition, because people are like everything for any company. So yeah, that's basically my observations for last few months.
Thank you.
Well, I would just comment. I'm delighted to hear that it's going as well as it is. It sounds like it's working out well for you and your colleagues. You know, one of the things that I've seen, I'd like to maybe have you comment on this, is our ability to be able to really establish a trusted relationship with someone that we obviously never met. So you're hiring a new employee, right? You don't know them. You know, doing the background checks, right? You know, let's talk to somebody. How do we do that? I would tell you that personally, LinkedIn has become a very important tool for me, right? I mean, it just, you know, because you can watch people's social habits right through that tool, right? So I'd like to maybe open it up to Carrie and Alexander and Javier as well. It's, you know, how do we really trust who we're working with here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was a great deal for Microsoft that basically buy it from the stock market, and yeah. I'm happy to pay this $500 for LinkedIn premium because yeah, if you're working with the global professionals, you basically it's your like contact list. So I use it like a global contact list. And me personally, I work with,
right? Yeah.
And we have LinkedIn blocked in Russia, so only using special software you could go to LinkedIn. Yeah.
Is it blocked? I didn't know that.
Most of guys in business using Facebook. Just in earlier times, we used LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, I'm not as trusting on Facebook as I am with LinkedIn. I don't know about the rest of you. So
in the UK, Facebook is for friends and family, and it's what you do in your private life. And and LinkedIn is professional. So if anybody from industry asks to join my Facebook, I just politely ignore that request, I'm afraid, because yeah.
That's why you haven't responded to me.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, so we rather compromised with some of my Saturday night photos being made public to the community professionally. So, yeah.
Matt, maybe you talk a little bit about your project working with startups, and maybe we give the word to Edmund. I see he is together with us on the panel.
Yes, he is. Yes, let me just. I apologize. I didn't really tell you all what I do when we got started here. As Carrie knows, I've been around the outsourcing and sourcing industry for a long time, and I've had the opportunity the last couple of years to shift my focus. And this is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life, and it's working with startup early stage companies. We've essentially created a business model that's called an individual enterprise. And how this happened was my son, a couple of years ago, said, "Dad, every now and then people ask me what you do, and I have no clue. I have no idea how to explain it to them." And I said, "Well, son, I run a single shingle. I'm a kind of a one-man band." And my son said, "Stop." He said, "Dad, nobody under the age of 40 is going to know what those terms mean." So you got to come up with a more woke, a more contemporary, definition of what you do. So I told him what I did, and he said, "Dad, you run an individual enterprise." And I thought about it. I said, "You're right. I'm an individual, and what I'm doing, this business model, is a business model of relationships." Okay, and that's what it is. So what we've done is we built a network where on one side of the coin are startup early stage companies, and if you're a startup or early stage company, you need a lot of things, right? You are ambitious because you wouldn't, if you weren't a startup or early stage company and you weren't ambitious, you wouldn't be there, right? So you're entrepreneurial, you're ambitious, you've got a lot of capability. What you lack sometimes is capital. Now, we don't provide capital. We do provide access to people that can raise capital for you. We don't provide that. But as Alexander will testify, one of the things that startups really need, particularly in this day and age, we've talked about it a little bit, is they need access. They need sales. They got to grow, right? Well, how do you grow in the digital world, right? It can be very, very difficult, right? I mean, how do you get access, right? And startup early stage companies, they want to scale quickly. They typically want to get into Fortune 1000 companies. Well, how do you do that? Okay. Well, there happens to be a demographic that's never happened on the planet Earth before. It's just never happened. Okay. And so what we've done is designed a business model around taking advantage of that. And it's called, in the Western vernacular in the US, it's called the baby boomers. We have in Western society, people in the age of 55 to 65, an enormous amount of people, and an enormous amount of people that have very, very extensive business experience in growing companies, growing them quickly. They have business relationships. They know how to navigate large organizations. They understand the politics. They have the Rolodex. Most people under the age of 30 wouldn't know what a Rolodex is, right? So they've got these relationships, and what they can do, they can help these startup early stage companies get in very quickly to the top, high, fast. And then when they're in, understand how to navigate through the environment. So we've curated on one side of the coin 12 startup early stage companies. Most of these right now are based in North America. We are now looking at curating companies that want to participate with us in Europe. We're looking at a couple right now. So Alexander and Carrie and Javier in Latin America, we are globalizing the model, okay? So on one side, we have startup early stage companies that are using digital innovation. Most of them are involved in some form of intelligent automation, AI, machine learning, or robotic process automation. But in one case, and this happens to be a firm called Global Energy Transmission that's headquartered in Portland, but their engineering lab is in Moscow at Moscow State University, where 95% of the people are. They're involved in energy distribution, which is really going to be important for all of us, okay? So although we're focused typically around sourcing supply chain technologies, okay, we do kind of step outside the bounds every now and then. So if any of you know of any companies that you think would be exciting for us to join the portfolio, we'd love to have them join the network. On the other side, we have these business leaders that are either retired, semi-retired, or will never retire, and most of them are in that latter category, that have their own LLCs, that have come out of business, have a portfolio of relationships with Fortune 500 1,000 companies around the world, and they want to stay relevant. They want to stay busy. They have those relationships. And so what we do, we pair up those executives with the startups that they feel like they may want to spend some time with. Now, these are called referral partners. Right now, we have over 50 around the world. We are moving into Europe. Right now, we have 3 referral partners in Europe. And Carrie and team, I would tell you, Europe right now is probably is more excited about this than some of my referral partners in the U.S. We're seeing enormous traction in Germany and Switzerland and France. So we really think the model can be a global model. And so again, if you have any colleagues that you think may want to join the network, I'd encourage you to have them call me. People spend anywhere from maybe 10% of their time to 30% of their time. Nobody does it full time, right? Because that's not what they do, right? They're but they like to stay relevant. They want to link up with a startup and help them succeed. Okay, so in many respects, it's also a bit of a professional social contribution, right? Kind of giving back some of your experience, right, to help some companies succeed in developing countries around the world. Okay, so that's another dynamic of it. Now, one of the companies that we have in the portfolio is a firm called BitOps. And Edmund, if you could take yourself off of mute now and join us. BitOps is headquartered in San Francisco. And Edmund is an entrepreneur that's started this company in the sourcing supply chain. His family lineage has a little bit of Russia, Eastern Europe, I understand, in its background. And so what I'd like BitOps and Edmund to share with you is an exciting use of intelligent automation, AI, in the sourcing process, and how he's also seeing how this is being used around the world. And by the way, our friend Sergey will be our representative. He is a referral partner in our network. This product is being translated into Russian as we speak, and will be available in Russian for your territories in the coming months. So with that, Edmund, I'd like to give the program to you and give the folks a little bit of perspective on the technology and how it's being used around the world, and how it's so important for your clients right now to see cash hit the bottom line. Okay?
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks so much for that introduction, and thanks to Sergey and everyone else for taking some time to learn a little bit about our technology. What I'm going to do is share my screen, and it's actually a good timing, because we will present to the Gartner Research Board next week as part of their evaluation of our technology. And so you all are seeing the first presentation of this deck for the Gartner board. So I'm going to make this presentation. I do have a hard stop at 7:30, which is in about 10 minutes. If you do have questions, I'm pretty friendly and happy to respond to an email. You can find me at hello@bitops.com or edmund@bitops.com. So what is the technology? BitOps is a sourcing enablement AI software platform. It's a cloud-based solution, so you use it through a web browser, Chrome or Firefox or BEST, and it allows you to access a very powerful AI model that refactors a lot of historical data related to bid tabulations. What is a bid tabulation? It's multiple quotes for the same line item. This is the definition we use for bid tabulation, and that is the data that our system uses. The problem we're solving for is that supplier negotiations are expensive and painful. In most companies, this is done using email and spreadsheets, involves weeks of months of back and forth, and the result is overpaying due to lack of real competition. Our solution is a sourcing platform that discovers and recommends intelligent first offers, driving better quotes faster. BitOps is the only solution on the market where we run a simulation of a RFP, forecast what the outcome will be, and then suggest that outcome to all of the parties involved. BitOps, however, is a full CRM and SRM solution for supply chain managers strategic sourcing teams, and procurement leaders. Using our model, you can forecast savings for every project, for every category, as well as for the performance of your buying teams. You can schedule projects, review first offers, and ultimately report out on business value. The awesome power of intelligent first offers is substantial. Using our analysis, you can leverage insights, understanding which suppliers are competing for your business. You can anchor savings, so the effect of a first offer sets the expectation around price and business requirements, which saves a ton of time in getting to the end of the negotiation. And ultimately, it improves the relationship because you set expectations around performance at the beginning, rather than asking someone to propose something and then going back and forth. And it just creates a better relationship with clear expectations. Studies show that intelligent first offers drive savings. So there's a book, Essentials of Negotiation, that surveys all of the available scientific literature on the topic. And the result is that every study that's been done on this shows that whoever goes first anchors over half of the price variance outcome. So if you see someone has $1 and then there's $1.50 is the highest, you have price variance of 50% or 50 cents on the unit level, and that is half of that is attributable to who went first in the negotiation and what first offer they made, which is astonishing. It's a tremendous amount of money, and that is part of the way that our solution drives such successful results. In the old world, we would write requirements, search the market, request quotes, maybe request some better quotes if we don't like what we get the first time, compare against a benchmark, award business, and report outcome against the target. The new world is driven by intelligent first offers. So we say, here's where we think we'll end up. If you like it, you can accept it. The negotiation's over. There's tracking and analytics throughout the process, and these forecasts are dynamic. The dynamism is very important. So they change depending on how many suppliers you're negotiating with, how much money you're negotiating over, how many line items, and indeed business requirements like the shipping address, the Incoterms, and other context-sensitive factors. BidOps AI generates intelligent first offers by simulating an RFQ using historical tabulation data. Our proprietary data set has hundreds of millions of historical transactions, and it analyzes not only supplier behavior, but cost analysis. So understanding how the distribution of cost in a bid model influences a supplier's discounting behavior. Additionally, we leverage network effects. One buyer has many suppliers, and getting many quotes allows you to see what the price difference is between different quotes, which actually is where the savings opportunity exists for strategic sourcing teams. How does it work? So there are a few factors that get taken into account. One is the competitiveness of the sourcing event. Two is the specs, unit price, quantity, and number of line items. And then there's the percentage value associated with the SLA as an award term. All of these are refactored through a dynamic model. It changes for every sourcing event. And actually, the forecast is made at the line item level, and it's unique for every supplier. So every supplier involved in an event sees something a little bit different. This may sound like science fiction, but actually AI-driven pricing is very familiar to us. It is what powers the Uber app. In order for Uber to be successful, they need a price that's acceptable to both the driver and the passenger. The driver doesn't work for Uber, they're a contractor. And so if they think the price is too low, they won't go pick up the rider. If the rider thinks the price is too high, they won't accept. What we have found is that hyperdynamic pricing, also known as surge pricing, refactors supply and demand. It is attentive to the behavioral elements of the negotiation. And ultimately, if both sides agree to it, then a tremendous amount of time and energy is saved in actually getting to that final price. The same technology powers Booking.com and Expedia for airline tickets and hotel rooms to create powerful alignments up front. We simply said, why not apply this very powerful technology to procurement and strategic sourcing in the world of business negotiations? BASF is our largest customer to date. They use the platform globally in their chemical and indirect materials supply chains, and it's driven by first offers. So the first time they used it, they saved 590,000 euros on a 3.6 million euro contract for screws and fasteners in one of their regions. Intelligent first offers drove the outcome. So previously they had been renewing at a higher price.
Something with audio.
Yeah, Edward, we're losing you just now for just a couple of minutes, maybe 30 seconds. So you might want to just start up on this slide.
Okay, test.
Can't hear you. I don't know what happened. Okay, I just could. Try again.
Test.
No. Everything was fine. I'm not sure if there's anything on your end, you can maybe don't use your camera. I don't know. I mean,
What about now?
yeah, we're not getting any audio. Okay.
Something with the microphone looks like.
Yeah, I don't know if you can dial in. I don't know if we even gave you a dial-in number for this. Okay. I think he's going to try and maybe connect back in.
Yeah.
I know we don't have much time anyway.
But in fact, I think we should kind of finalize a little bit our discussion timing.
Right. And Sergey, what I would offer is we can do for this group, we can do a separate session, Zoom session or Skype session or team meeting, whatever you want, on this technology if there's interest. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that you mentioned that BDOPS, translating this software to Russian. I think for Belarus it could be applicable as well. Yeah.
We will have it done in the next 2 months. We already have a very large Russian oil company that we've been in conversation with, and as I mentioned. Our friend Sergey will be our contact in Belarus and in Russia for this tool.
So just very quickly, Matt, what's the range of products you can actually use this tool for? Is it more for the sourcing of products, or can it be for more complex?
Yes, it can be for sourcing of direct, obviously, products, nuts and bolts and materials, also for IT. And some IT services, okay? Right. And really, they've just been getting started. They're about 18 months to 2 years old, and it's really, and their offer right now is a gain share offer to get started. There is no investment up front. They will bring the tool in. The tool's on the Azure platform, right? So there's nothing really to install internally. They do have to obviously get access to your data. But there's no upfront costs, and what they do gain share on the savings, and then after that they define an annual SaaS platform fee. They're a startup, so their multiple is much better if it's a SaaS model than a services model, right? Let's go figure, right? But that's the way that the investment markets work, right? So, but it's a very, very affordable tool and very, very exciting. And again, this is just one of 12 firms that we have right now, and Carrie would love to work with you and your association to identify any really cool startups that are doing some innovative things in the UK or Europe. Let's bring these things worldwide. This is the new market and the new way of going to market, right? And if you know of business leaders that have some relationships and have some time and want to get involved, want to help these companies grow, a number of our referral reps are asked to step onto the board of advisors of these companies, okay? If the relationship, between the advisor and the company becomes strong and valuable, right? So it's really a very, very powerful way for startups, because now we don't replace their sales team. We're a supplement, right? We are a alternate channel for them, right? Of ways to get additional leads and relationships, typically in large Fortune 1000 companies or Fortune 5000, because the business leaders that we're talking to are people like myself and all of you, okay?
Thank you very much to all experts. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Javier and Alexander and Edmund. You joined us today and shared your ideas. I think we had a great international team exchanging the views. And in fact, we will continue to work with Belarus, with Minsk, and we will invite you maybe to come to Minsk this autumn, September, October. And maybe you know that this year, together with our Belarusian partners, we named the Year of Outsourcing. 2020 is a year of outsourcing in Russia and Belarus. And one of the reasons of this name, of the title of the year, is that in December in Moscow, we will celebrate 20 years of outsourcing in our territories. So welcome to Minsk in September, October, and welcome to Moscow in the beginning of December as well. So thank you very much. Let's be in touch.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having us. Nice to meet you all, and be in touch on LinkedIn.
Great to meet you all again.
And definitely we have recorded the sessions, and we will promote within Russia and Belarus this video, and you personally and your organizations as well.
Oh, thank you. Please share. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Maria?
Да, Сергей?
Hey, Sergey.
Hey, we are trying to finalize our sessions today. It was a really long day.
Oh, yes.
In fact, it is our first kind of pilot of the full day online event. I hope it worked well. So, Мария, что вы думаете? Я, к сожалению, первую половину слышал только отрывками, потому что сидел на экзаменах. Вот. Как ваше впечатление?
So, should we, now it's Russian or English sessions?
Whatever. So,
Mr. Matthew, I'm really appreciate that you decided to participate in our conference. So thank you very much, and we really would be happy to see you in Minsk.
I would love to come to Minsk. I've never been. Would love to come.
It would be really great. Alexander a little bit mentioned you about our country and maybe special regimes and so great unicorns that happened for the last several years. So it's true, and Alexander is really like related to this, let's say, ecosystem of our venture financing ventures. Actually,
I would love to get to know him more. I would love to get to know Alexander more. And Sergey, what I would suggest, you're probably already thinking about this. I would be very willing to help you guys host what we call innovation alley or startup alley at your event, where you just, you may have a half a dozen or 10 or however many you want startup companies, early stage companies from around the world, from all over the world, right?
Yeah, good idea for the September,
right?
October in Minsk.
Right. They would come to Minsk, and obviously these companies, if they want to come from the US or they want to come from the UK or they want to come from Russia, wherever they want to come from, right? If they want to come from Latin America, right? They've got to be committed to support their product in the languages and in the territories and in those markets, right? And they have to want to be a serious competitor in that market, right? And maybe what we would do for the firms that are nominated that want to come, right? They have to be approved by the, your advisory board that would determine whether or not that technology would be of interest in this region of the world, right? There's no sense in showing a startup, right, and their capabilities that you know, the people that are most familiar with that market, right, that's really not going to be of interest, right? So I would be, you know, willing to help you with that, and that's the kind of thing, Sergey, that I want to offer to your friends in the UK, to Carrie. We'll do the same thing for Carrie. We'll do the same thing for our friends in Latin America, our friends in China, our friends in Asia, our friends all over the world, right? So.
I even received invitation from China friends. They look like they started to live again to make a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not heard from them half a year approximately.
Yeah, I just got my invitation the other day.
In fact, Maria, I'd like to say that for Matt, Belarus is kind of a new territory, and his energy and his passion to the industry could help to promote and establish outsourcing and all that innovations in Belarus as well. So Matt is a great mixer and very connected guy in the industry. Yeah.
One of our startups, actually, one of their labs, well, I have a startup that's got a development lab in Prague, and I have another one that's got a development lab in Moscow. So, you know, we do have, you know, startups based out of the US that have some familiarity with Eastern Europe. So.
In fact, just to finalize a little bit, we tried today during these 5 sessions to deliver to Belarus audience, to Belarus business, several ideas that outsourcing is anyway innovative instrument for Russia and Belarus. Maybe Belarus a little bit have some lag in development, but anyway, and for Russian enterprises and for Belarusian enterprises, this is innovative instrument. So connection with innovation, outsourcing is very close. Another issue we try to deliver that definitely services and outsourcing services are very connected or are very dependent from using digital technologies, all that stuff with artificial intelligence and machine learning and the robotics, process automation on blockchain. Make a great impact to the efficiency and effectiveness of the services. And this is another side. And third point we try to deliver today as Belarusian enterprises, banking industry are very interested in business ecosystem, in building kind of a digital platform, business platform. So we try to deliver that outsourcing is a great instrument to build ecosystems as well. So I don't know if we were effective in this, in our efforts, but yeah, but let's see, let's try to continue our efforts.
Yeah, let's to continue, and thank you very much for everyone. So Sergey, I think it's time to like close conference.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah. So thanks to everybody, thanks to experts, thanks to all participants. We will put together all presentations and recordings, and we'll distribute to all participants. I think maybe the end of the week, or maybe beginning of the next week as the latest.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I've got to run.
Thank you very much.
You guys can continue in Russian.
Have a good day, Matt.
Have a good day.
До свидания.
До свидания.